Hello, my fellow misfits. I'm Matt Owens. Welcome back to A Cult of Misfits. If you're interested in the esoteric and consciousness itself and the nature of reality and the inward journey and the great awakening and even the Anunnaki, well, you're in luck because I'm into all of those things as well. And I talk about them regularly on my podcast. So check out A Cult of Misfits on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and even Amazon Alexa. You can also follow Cult of Misfits. I'm over on X or Twitter and Instagram. I post content over on those platforms as well. In fact, I just recently had a lovely conversation with my friend Kaylin on Instagram, Electric Self. If you're interested in checking out our conversation about all of the things I just mentioned, and obviously aliens, because I feel like every third conversation of mine, I have to talk about aliens. I get a little itchy. So check out that conversation on Instagram, and I look forward to future conversations as well, not just with her, but with others. I just feel very led to be having these conversations with others. So stay tuned for more on that. Today, I want to give you an analogy that popped into my brain as I was taking my walk today. It has to do with Mario and Luigi. So I think that's something that we can all relate to and understand. I want to talk about just this concept of us being in a simulation and what that has to do with how we choose to live our lives, how I choose to live my life, if that's true or not true. And essentially, what I want to get to the bottom of is this concept of taking the red pill, of awakening, and what that means for me and what it's meant on my journey. And perhaps you can relate to some of the things that I've gone through. So, today on my walk, let's start with a little Mario and Luigi action. Um, I'm just constantly this week really delving into the idea that none of this is real, right? When I first started thinking about, and I realize I talk about these things a lot, but I'm trying to hammer it home and work through it and try to get some sort of a grasp as to what the hell's going on around here. So that's why I talk about it frequently, and I'm always trying to come at it from different angles. And my guides and my higher self, which I call Master Omega. Master Omega is always trying to get me to, right, to head down a specific path, and it's about communicating with my guides and trying to see things from a different angle, a different perspective, so that I go like, oh, okay, trying to wrap my tiny human mind around these concepts that are extremely difficult for the human to understand oftentimes. So little cute analogies like Mario and Luigi help the old human to wrap their mind around things. So, um, considering the idea that we're in a matrix, I thought that it was just sort of the Silicon Valley tech bros that came up with this idea of simulation theory, that we're in some sort of a matrix or a simulation or a dream reality or whatever label you want to put on it. But as I started digging deeper and looking into these ancient civilizations and ancient philosophies from just all over the world, they all sort of hit home this idea of this world, this 3D realm that we're in, the material realm, is nothing but an illusion. That it's nothing but a a lower reflection of a higher realm that we can't currently perceive completely and fully. I think that we have some sort of an attachment to it in a spiritual way that I probably can't comprehend, right? This connection to the divine. But the analogy that helped me to understand a little bit better what might be going on here is Mario and Luigi. That there's somebody who is sort of leading and guiding us. That we are the avatar. That we are the Mario or the Luigi in this grander game. And that there's a higher power, a higher source that is leading us and guiding us, right? And so when I start thinking about things like aliens or interdimensional beings or the nature of reality itself, or these ancient structures like the pyramids or these megalithic structures that just when you start digging into it makes no sense, right? Just all these mysteries, and we don't understand the nature of anything really. Right? And the analogy works that it would be as if Mario and Luigi were trying to understand the nature of their reality. And it's kind of laughable because from our perspective, from the higher perspective, it's like, okay, guys, they obviously don't understand that they're in a game. They obviously think that whatever they're experiencing is real, and that's where it gets a little bit sticky, right? Because what is real? Are Mario and Luigi real? Well, I mean, Yes, I suppose because they exist on my TV screen or on a Nintendo game chip, that I guess you could say that they exist, but in a real sense, they don't exist. They only exist when I turn their power on, right, or when I play the game. Otherwise, they cease to exist when the television turns off or the Nintendo turns off, for example, right? So to us in a higher realm, it seems a bit ridiculous that Mario and Luigi be trying to figure out the nature of the reality. Like, all of a sudden they start questioning, like, where are the other humans? Like, how come we're the only two humans around here? And where did all these Yoshis come from? Like, what is their origin story? And like trying to find the secrets to, this world that they don't quite understand. And for Mario and Luigi to constantly be scared and worried about dying all the time. But from the higher perspective, it's like, why are you guys worrying about that? They don't understand that in the next world, I'm going to get 10 green mushrooms, right? And they have nothing to worry about. And even if we do die, oh no, it's a real nail biter. Well, guess what? I'll just continue and start over again. Like it's not a big deal, right? But this is all me saying this from the higher perspective because I can see it all. I can see that they're just in a game. Now, how do you explain to Mario and Luigi that they're just characters in this game, that they're just a reflection of our world, right? And it's not an exact mirror reflection, right? But there are definitely commonalities, like the mushrooms and the mountains and the snow, and like they have aspects of our reality, but we all know that it's not real. But try telling that to Mario and Luigi. And so this is kind of what I've been trying to wrap my mind around lately is these sorts of concepts that um when I talk about aliens or when I talk about interdimensional beings or what is the government doing, right? Like maybe none of it's real. And like really wrapping my mind around that and applying it to my belief system. And um when I start to get when I start to dig deeper, like today on my walk, spirit really said to me, like, because I was just having a little convo with spirit and saying, like I just want the answers. I'm just a seeker by nature. I'm a very curious person, which tends to annoy a lot of people, surprisingly. I don't know. A lot of people don't like when I ask a lot of questions like, "Oh, what's that for? And why did you buy that? And how often do you use it? And why is the handle shaped like this?" And they're like, "What's with 10,000 questions, bro?" Like just take a break. But like this is how I navigate my realities. Like I just want to know it all. I want to know how it all goes together. How does it work? That's fascinating to me. Um so anyways, a little side jaunt there, but just questioning everything. The universe spirit said to me, in this act of letting go, right? We tend to cling on to these things like our beliefs and I just want to know the answers, right? Spirit said, what would it be like to just let go of the need to know everything? To let go of the need to know what's behind the curtain. Because if you were meant to see that right now, you would see it right now, and you don't, so you don't. So just chill out, bro. And so that's really been helping me. That's new and fresh as of just 20 minutes ago when I got back from my walk, is just letting go of the need to know everything. I've been really digging deep into the pyramids and these megalithic structures, like I said, and there's just so many question marks. And I'm always trying to put all the pieces together and trying to get to the bottom of this thing and trying to get deeper into this grand illusion, this grand game that we found ourselves in. And I love the thrill of the hunt, and I love digging deeper and going within even further and learning deeper truths. And just like, I fucking love this place, right? Even the times when it's just extremely challenging and I'm tearing my hair out or scared out of my mind. Even then, I'm like, holy shit, this place is nuts. But like, uh, the truth is, our souls love it. Our souls signed up for this, right? And so it's about learning to just sort of lean into that for myself. I'm just speaking for myself, right? Um, Leaning into that. In 2020, I like to say that I had an awakening, right? That I woke up. I could finally see things for how they truly were, like the scales were lifted from my eyes, to get biblical, right? Or whatever. Like, um, everything sort of changed for me in 2020, and I once maybe some of you can relate to this, that when you sort of have this awakening experience, as I did in 2020, where you just start saying, whoa, how could I have never seen this before? Like, it's in plain sight, it's right in front of me, but yet how on earth could I have missed it? It's so obvious, right? What the government is doing, or big pharma, or Bill Gates, or the adrenochrome, or the shape shifting lizard people, like whatever avenue you want to go down. I started seeing all of this, and it was quite shocking to my system. Even like the moon landing and 9/11 and all that fun stuff, right? Where it's just like, holy shit. And it's so jarring to the system. I'm just speaking for myself. It was so jarring that I felt the need to just tell everyone what I've just discovered. Like, listen, guys, I just uncovered something here. You need to take a seat because this is going to knock your socks off. And I started telling people how things truly were as I could see them at the time, right? I need to wake everybody else up. Now that I've woken up, like, holy shit, I need everybody to see what I see. And I learned that it doesn't quite work like that. It's quite ineffective, I discovered in my own life, to try to pry other people's eyes open when they're not ready to be opened. I tried to show people what I could see when they were not ready to see such things. And it's not from a pompous, top of the mountain attitude like I'm ascended, I'm an ascended master, and all of you idiots who don't have the eyes to see, I pity you all. It's not about that. Because honestly, my whole life up until 2020, I was just derping, just derping my way through life. Through the matrix with my little belief systems, and I'm American, and I'm this political belief, and this is who I am, right? These are the TV shows I like to watch. This is me, Matt Owens. um and after 2020, I started hearing the term red pill, and I started really believing that, oh yes, I chugged the bottle of red pills, right? I took them all. I can now see the light. I am a light worker. I am a truth seeker. Thank you very much. I'm a patriot. Thank you very much. Like all these things that I felt very strongly attached to. There's nothing wrong with any of them, right? It's a part of my journey, and I'm sure it's a part of yours. I'm sure people can relate to this. This is why I'm talking about it. So shout out to you for those that are on this journey, this crazy fucking journey of ours. So I was convinced that I had taken the red pill. I could see everything for how it truly was. I was awake. Everybody that didn't see things my way or agree with me, they were asleep. They were unconscious. They were sheeple. They were ignorant fucking idiots, right? That was my belief system for like, you know, a year and a half or so. I really went hard on that. I was going to use a sports reference, and I think I might screw it up. I went hard in the paint. Oh, guys, I dug deep for that one. Let me know if that's correct, because I'm really proud of myself if I nailed that one. I went deep in the paint, hard in the paint, something in the paint, guys. I went painting, and I don't do the sports ball, so the references often escape me. Every time I looked at the Super Bowl this last weekend, I was like, I have no idea what the hell's going on. There's just a lot of tackling and whistling and shoving of people over. So I don't get what's going on there, but people seem to like it. Um, so I was convinced I had taken the red pill, and I wanted to cram that red pill down everybody's throat. It's for your own good. Just take the red pill. Just shut up and take it. You'll see what I'm talking about as soon as you go down the rabbit hole like I have. Right? Come to Crazy Town just like I did, and I had a lot of lessons to learn. I had a lot of lessons to learn during that time period. Um, One of those is stop trying to control other people and stop trying to control other people's awakening process. Sometimes the good Lord will use you as a part of somebody's awakening process, but it's not going to be you cramming your crazy ideologies down people's throats, because when they're not ready to see it, they're not ready to see it. And up until 2020, I wasn't ready to see it. If I started talking about these things that we talk about, the nature of reality and the great awakening, and star seeds and light beings and all that shit, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you've gone up the deep end, bro. But now I've seen the light, guys. Now we're talking about Nibiru and the Anunnaki, and I'm all in. So so cheers to the misfits, right? But a part of this journey that I recognized today, that's why I'm talking about it. It was an epiphany that came to me. Um, little divine download that came to me was that taking the red pill does not mean that you are awake. because that's insinuating that you've reached nirvana. And I'm sorry, but if you're listening to me talking right now, you haven't reached nirvana. I don't think, I'm pretty sure they don't have Twitter in nirvana. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I think this is meant for us who haven't achieved nirvana yet, right? Myself included. All these conversations we have are me just sharing my notes, right? Just things that I've learned along my journey, my path. I couldn't care less if you do what I tell you to or not. I'm not telling you to do anything. That's the whole point. I'm just saying, here's what worked for me. Here's what didn't work for me. Here's my field notes. Like, just copy them as you please. So part of this great epiphany I had today was that I didn't awaken. Rather, this is a slow, constant, eternal waking up process. Not just here in the earth realm, perhaps, but perhaps this awakening process, this unfolding, transcends through all of the layers and realms that are apparently around us at all times. And so rather than saying, I just like to change the language slightly, I like to change the reprogramming, the script in my own head, because I believe that our thoughts have extreme power, and our thoughts turn into words, of course, and those words have power more than I think that we comprehend or understand, I think, for the most part, right? And that's what diving into these mysteries is all about, is like there is something to the power of our words and our belief systems. So rather than saying I woke up in 2020, that's when I woke up, I prefer to say that's when my awakening began, right? It's this constant unfolding because I'm not at the top of the mountain. I'm not fully awake. If I was, I wouldn't be having this conversation right now, right? It's about putting the ego aside. The ego wants to tell me, Hal is what I call my ego. Hal's always yapping about, how spiritual we are and how we're cooler than everybody else. And we've got this secret knowledge, just all this ego bullshit, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm the student, bro. I like to think of myself as the student. I'm constantly learning. And as I learn, I talk about it. I'm here in these forums. I also like to change. So what I'm saying is, rather than saying I woke up, I'm awakening. I'm ever awakening. Right? There is no destination to this. It's the journey. Right? And I also like to change the wording around escaping from the matrix. This concept that we're on a prison planet, or we're stuck in the matrix, or there are shadow or demonic beings that are keeping us here for our loosh. I absolutely loathe the word loosh, and I really wish that the spiritual community could come up with something better. So I'm gonna work on that and think of a better term for loosh, because it makes me nauseous saying it. So I'm gonna put it there for now. But, but rather than saying that we are trapped here or stuck here or tricked here or any of those things, I like to think that I'm graduating from the matrix, right? I'm not stuck here, because what a part of this is putting it in this framework from my mind. This is what I did today. Is I'm graduating from the matrix. There's these concepts that sort of span the globe. Most of the ancients, philosophies and religions, etc. The ancient wisdom talks about um, how we're all in an illusion. This is not the real world. Matrix means womb in Latin. We're just in this womb realm that was created, I believe, by some sort of a higher being that many label God, many label Yaldabaoth, or even Yahweh, right? But I believe that there was a creator of the material world, but I also believe that there are higher beings and intelligences and consciousness levels that we can't comprehend, that are above and outside of that material realm. This is what the ancients tell us. This isn't just like Matt Owen's opinion, just made this up last night, sounds good to me. Once they start digging into all the sacred texts and stuff, they all sort of talk about this, right? They all say, like, this is an illusion. Okay, great. So this is an illusion. What do they say about graduating from this illusion, right? What the ancients believe, and what I currently am sort of mulling around, is this idea that we are in this material realm, this womb, this bubble, this world within a world, this video game Mario Brothers situation. And we are meant to reincarnate here over and over and over again until our soul liberates itself. Okay, great, cool. Sounds awesome. I'm on board. How do I go on? Tell me how I liberate myself from this place, right? And I almost said shithole. Is what was going on there. I almost said shithole, and I stopped myself. But this is the mentality: is in a lot of the spiritual communities and online and on YouTube and stuff. There's this concept that we're trapped in this shithole, and I just want to get to 5D already. I just want to get to the new Earth already because this place sucks. This place is dirty and humans suck and we're trashing Mother Earth and this place is hard and challenging and this place suffering and I fucking hate this place. Get me out of here. Now, if you choose to believe that that's your reality, then yikes. That's your reality. So I've chosen myself to reframe that in my own mind and say, no, 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 no. There's nothing to escape from, right? The only thing that is quote unquote trapping me here is my own mind. Here's what I mean by that. And this is also what the Eastern philosophies say about freeing yourself from your mind. It's about detaching from all of these things. So what they say is to live virtuously, you know. I don't like to use that words like virtuously or morally, because then you start talking about sin and, according to who, the church, your God, Yahweh. Who are we talking about here? Who's the authority? Who says that what you're doing is noble and right? According to who? Buddha? I don't know. What are we talking about here? So I don't like using those types of words. But what I like to use instead is just the general energy I think behind that notion, which is to live your life lovingly. I think that sort of encompasses it beautifully. It brought me to tears a little bit. That was beautiful. It just came to me. To live your life lovingly is what the ancients said. So that is what I'm trying to do in my own life, right? Not judging other people. Taking a step back, what it really means is what I had to learn from my own life is looking within and learning to love myself, learning to love those parts of myself that I did not like, those parts of myself that I was embarrassed about, that I didn't want to address. Learning to love those parts of myself. And then naturally, as a part of that process, as within, so without, it started to reflect in my own world and in my own heart, in my own interaction with other people, and the judgmental attitudes that I once had towards myself. I found that they just started dissolving, and I no longer was judgmental towards other people. Or once I started addressing my deeper fears and how I was projecting my fears out onto other people, once I learned to address those and go within, it just naturally dissolved, and I stopped projecting my fears onto other people. I started reframing my entire reality, which is to say, my mind. So this, for me, is how I'm freeing myself from the matrix: is just reframing everything, reprogramming everything, realizing that all of my attachments to these things in the earthly realm are exactly what's keeping me here. So I had to realize that if I'm still attached to one political party over the other, that is an attachment to this earth. And as long as I have an attachment to this earth, as soon as my physical form dies, I'm coming right back again. Because my soul is here to get certain things done, to experience certain things while in this 3D realm. And if I don't experience those things in this lifetime due to fear, due to limiting beliefs, due to not wanting to step outside my comfort zone, fear. That's fine. The universe will bring it right back to you. Next round, next round, next round. I believe that we are doing this as part of a spiritual alchemical process, which is a purification process of our soul that happens over many lifetimes. And as the ancients talk about, the goal is to free ourselves from this cycle, to graduate from it. You can call it escaping if you'd like, right? Creating a Shawshank tunnel out of this hellhole. Call it what you will, but I'm calling it graduating. I choose to claim it in victory. Like I did a good job. I made it to the next level, the next realm, the heavenly realm, from what I understand. That's what the ancients tell us, is that there are realms above this one that's a heavenly realm. And I believe that once we reach a certain frequency, our energy reaches that frequency, then we just naturally can advance to this next realm and see things for how they truly are, right? That's part of this unfolding I'm talking about, right? Like metaphorically, when I took the red pill in 2020, right, the scales dissolved off my eyes and I could see things differently, like, whoa. And I think that in a very, very, very similar way, that there are other beings, you can call them interdimensional if you like, but I believe they're just on a different frequency, a different wavelength than we currently are, or we can currently see or detect with our human biology or our human technologies. Those of us that are more sensitive can perhaps detect these beings from these other realms, right? But they're here. And I think that what the real trick here is, this whole talk about disclosure, is that they're here all around us. We just can't detect them. The analogy of, Earth being this radio dial of frequencies, and we are on, frequency, 99.8, and the angels are on, 101.5, right? Shout out to 101.5, by the way. Um, And so we are on the same dial. We are in the same place, call it Earth realm or the material realm or whatever realm you want to call it, whatever this whole thing is, right? We're all in the same dial metaphorically, but we just can't necessarily perceive each other because we're in different areas on that dial. And it's about tuning into those frequencies. And so I believe that for me in 2020, I had achieved a certain frequency and the scales fell from my eyes and I could see things differently. Could I see everything? No. My ego would like to tell me that I can now see everything and I'm the master of the universe. But truth be told, I don't know shit. Right? So if you're taking notes, just throw them in the garbage because I'm just making all this up, guys. Don't take my word for anything. Um, but over the last 2 years, as a part of this detaching from things of the earthly realm in order to gain my freedom and independence from this matrix, I realized upon reflection that I had a lot of attachments around money. A lot of attachments, I mean, fears and limiting beliefs that I had around money, that I wouldn't ever have enough, or that I wasn't going to be able to pay these bills, or that I was always going, I'm poor. These, things that we tell ourselves, that the universe sort of reciprocates, right? If you have a poverty mindset, despite what your circumstances are, right? Because there are billionaires that have a poverty mindset. They have all the money in the world, and yet they're constantly scared out of their mind that they're going to lose it all, right? So what the universe, what my soul, what Master Omega, I suppose, was wanting me to experience was the letting go of my attachments to money and my fears relating to money. And the way that I've been doing that these last couple of years is by running straight towards my fears and doing the exact things that scare the shit out of me, right? Including giving away of all of my possessions, as my higher self was instructing me to do. And I did. But it was about learning to just let go of these things, because I found that in my own life, maybe you can relate to this. The universe has a way of stripping things from our life that aren't serving us any longer, such as our fears around money. And so I've been learning to address them myself before it gets to the point where it's festering so much in my life that the universe needs to just like cut it out, right? And then that's for me more painful, and I experience more suffering when I let it go on too long and don't address it as my soul is begging me to do. But I'm not doing because I'm scared out of my mind about, you know, being homeless or not being able to pay that bill or not being able to pay rent this month or whatever the fear might be, whatever the case is, right? To face that thing and say, nope, it's going to work out. And this was something that I had to test the universe, as I test everything, right? I'm not just going to take somebody's word for it, whether it came from a holy book or a holy person or whatever the source may be. I need to do it for myself and experience it for myself and come to my own conclusions. And so I started this journey, this process of getting used to running towards my fears. Because for me, this would dissolve those attachments that I had to the earthly realm, aka sweet, sweet freedom from the matrix, right? And so these last 2 years, the universe has really been showing me deeply and intensely, and like it's been really fucking intense. But I've been learning to let go of things of a financial nature, not to attach myself to them. Because as we all know, these things come and go, right? Whether it's a fire or a cataclysm or an event or something that happens that wipes everything out, whatever it is that you're clinging onto, whether it's money or a relationship or a material good or whatever it is that you're clinging onto, the universe has a way of shaking that up a little bit. And so what I started doing is recognizing that, okay, I want to get myself to a place so as to decrease my amount of suffering. I want to get myself to a place mentally where I'm able to be okay if I lose X, Y, or Z from my life that I'm attached to. And practice, practice, practice 10,000 times until it just becomes more natural. That's what this is for me. As I feel like this whole womb, this matrix, is really just a practice round. I think that we take it way too seriously often, right? I think that we take it way too seriously, and well, I'll just leave it there. I think we take it way too seriously, and that we place a lot of emphasis on things that perhaps don't matter in a spiritual sense, right? For the purposes of our soul, maybe they matter to the human, to the avatar, right? Maybe Matt Owens cares about things of like the government or taxes or gas prices or whatever's happening in Russia and Ukraine, and um, my spirit doesn't care about any of those things. Right? At least not in the way that Matt Owens does, right? Master Omega realizes that this is all just an illusion. That's very easy for Matt Owens to get wrapped up in. But once I learn to trust and have faith in a higher source, whether that's God or your higher self or Master Omega, trusting in that source to lead me and guide me and not screw me over, to take care of me and my basic needs. Not to say that it's not going to be a bumpy ride or that I won't experience any suffering or hardship or difficulty. That is all often a part of it, right? But I had to question these things really deeply in my own life. For example, money. Like, can I trust that I'll be taken care of no matter what? And these last 2 years, have really put it to the test. For those of you that have been following me or my life, really putting it to the test. And sure enough, I had to see it for myself. And don't take my word for it, but it always worked out. It's always in a process of working out. It often doesn't happen how or when Matt Owens wants it to. But sorry, buddy. That's because we're learning patience. I know you don't want to hear that, but that's what we're learning. And then Matt Owens gets all huffy and puffy about it. But so I just feel like when I talk about these other things, I have to just sort of reduce like aliens or all these hot topic stuff. I just have to reduce it to down to like none of this is real. That's just sort of the base core of my belief system. So where do we go from there? And I feel like the ancients gave us a bunch of cheat codes, right? Like to this game of ours. I feel like those that have the eyes to see, like when the scales fall off, they just fall off. I think that it happens divinely within divine timing. There wasn't anything that I think that Matt Owens did to earn that red pill in 2020 or that awakening or seeing things in a new way. It's a blessing. I'm thankful for it. But I don't think that there's anything I did. I think that it happens when you're ready, right? When the student is ready. And so that's why I've shifted from trying to open everybody else's eyes, scraping the scales from their eyes, and just recognizing like they'll see it when they see it, right? And that's, I say it nonchalantly and casually, but I know how hard it is with family members and loved ones where it's like, you guys need to see what I see here because some of it's alarming, right? It's alarming what they're doing to us. But again, this is the deeper narrative that I talk about frequently about how part of this escaping of the matrix or graduating from the matrix is getting yourself to a frequency that transcends duality, transcends us versus them. So I had to tell myself that if I'm still attached to political beliefs, I'm stuck in the matrix. It's a mind trap. I did a previous episode about mind traps. Check it out if you're interested. But I talk about these mind traps that we get ourselves into. And they're just attachments, attachments to a belief, right? Well, once I grew up in a Christian household, a religious household, and eventually, shifted over to more Eastern philosophies. And then I just started diving into all of the things, right? I wanted to hear from everybody. Everything's on the table. Let's go. Um, and I examined all of them, and I'm still in the process of examining all of them. On a side note, I haven't examined any philosophical or religious beliefs from Africa outside of of Egypt, obviously. And so I'm interested in looking into that too. I'm not there yet, but it's just sort of on my periphery that I'd like to start diving into some more African traditions that I have no idea what they believe. I often talk about Western religions and beliefs and Eastern religions and beliefs, but I sort of leave out Africa from that. So anyway, that's on my to-do list. If you do know about that sort of thing, I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to point me in a direction, I'd love to dig in. But that's just a side note. So I feel like our ancestors gave us these cheat codes as to how to escape from the matrix, and that's what I'm doing. Is just constantly looking at their notes and copying them and applying it to my own life, and often with great results. Right, life-changing results. Part of this journey I talk about manifesting often is, just as a, um, what am I trying to say? Just as a sort of test of manifestation, as I sort of try out and pull the levers and push all the buttons and try all the things, such as manifestation, and try to figure out how it works. Um, I'm attempting to manifest a winning lottery ticket, but I had to work through this process of, why do you want a lottery ticket? Why are you attaching yourself to the material world? Do you want to buy fancy things? Why do you want to buy fancy things? Why do you want to have a big home? Do you need a big home? What is the greater desire behind this? What is the lack that is behind it? What is the, just digging, 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 digging. And what the universe has done these last 2 years, specifically relating to the lottery ticket and money and just all of those things, is we often think that money will bring us happiness, right? But how often do we hear from these people who are millionaires or celebrities or billionaires or whatever that are saying, you know what, I am very wealthy and I'm very unhappy. I'm a very unhappy person. So what Spirit has told me specifically, that the path that I'm on now and have been for the last 2 years, has been a path about getting myself to a place where I can find happiness, contentment, joy, peace, gratitude, laughter without money. Right now, just to be transparent, I am the poorest that I've ever been in my entire life. I don't talk about it because I don't speak those things into existence, but we're talking about it for an example now, so I'm talking about it. But I am the absolute poorest I've ever been in my entire life. And I have to tell you that not everything in my life is exactly as Matt Owens wants it to be. But my spirit's having a great time. But I am, despite my poverty, I am the most content I've ever been in my entire life. I spend most of my time at peace. Things don't rock my boat like they used to. I don't get stressed out and anxious like I used to. I'm not speaking from the top of the mountain here. I'm just saying that these are the things that I've been working on, and I'm sharing the results of it with you, encouraging you perhaps that, like, this is all possible. I was such a miserable person before 2020. I was very unhappy. I hated myself. I hated the world. I hated just everybody. Everybody's a fucking idiot. I worked in restaurants, so that had a lot to do with with that attitude. But no, that's just blaming the industry. My attitude is my own concoction. So I don't blame the customers. I don't blame the situations or the managers or the bosses that I didn't like or get along with. It was all part of the process, right? But um, I was a very unhappy person, and so I'm so thankful to the falling of the scales from my eyes in 2020 because I started this journey that's just been so satisfying, right? And things aren't lined up exactly as I want, right? Nothing is like I'm perfect or nor ever will be. Perhaps that's not the purpose of this, but um, I am very content. And I think that's the whole point is I was supposed to find happiness and contentment without the money, without the luxuries or without the creature comforts or whatever it is that Matt Owens thinks that he wants. Cutie. Right? I don't need a lottery ticket to find happiness. I don't need a magic mansion to be content in my life, right? I was just on my walk, just laughing with Chi Chi because he was acting like a ding dong, and it made me laugh. And I thought, like, I'm so happy that I can like laugh, right? I have every reason to be miserable, right? There's lots of things that I could definitely focus on that I could wallow in if I wanted to, right? That I could pity myself for, or man, this sucks in my life. How come this is so terrible? I could linger on any of those things, but I consciously choose not to. That's what these last few years have been about for me is not thinking like that anymore. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm just kind of lucky to be alive today. And old versions of myself would have heard somebody say that and they'd be like, get out of here. Get out of here with that stuff. Like, oh, okay, I'm just happy to be alive today. Like, get out of here, buddy. But I'm truly just authentically at that place now, and I share it because this is possible for all of us. This is part of the journey. I feel so free now, and I think that this is part of um, what this world is about. Is that it creates these mechanisms for us for which to practice all of these things. Practice loving ourselves. Practice not judging other people. Practice not caring what others think about us. Practice being more confident. Practice it's all practice, right? It's like an elementary school kid having terrible handwriting and you slapping him on the wrist going, "Hey, what are you doing? Why is your handwriting so sloppy?" Right? So I just like they're a kid, it's fine. It's just practice. They're getting it. They're getting it, right? This is all about loving yourself too. It's like, hey, no more guilt, right? No more condemnation, breaking free from all of those things too. Those are all attachments, programming, right? Letting it all go. Like I meant to say earlier, as I was shifting from Christianity to Eastern philosophies and now more what I would call a spiritual. I hate putting labels on all this stuff, but just spiritual stuff, right? Reincarnation. I don't need to go through the list, but then I found just because I'm a human, I started attaching myself to spirituality. Now I'm a spiritual person, whereas before I used to say I'm a religious person. Well, now I'm a spiritual person, and these are my beliefs, and this is what I think about that, and this is the nature of reality. And now I've just attached myself to 30 new things. Right? What if I was able to get myself to a place where I could let go of all of that? Right? Maybe reincarnation is not real. Hmm? I think that it is. I've attached myself to that belief, but what if it's not? Right? What if that's just a part of the matrix? What if that's just a part of the construct? What if reincarnation isn't a thing? Right? We have these beliefs, and I question all of them constantly because I think that this is the path to freedom. I genuinely think that the more gnosis we have, which is another one of the paths that the ancients talk about how to uh, graduate from the matrix, um, is knowledge. That's why I talk about these things. I believe that this knowledge is meant to be passed on. I find it very interesting that in the ancient schools, the mystery schools, etc., um, Eleusinian mysteries and use of psychedelics and reaching altered states of consciousness and all of these things. It was esoteric. It was knowledge for a small people with those with eyes to see and ears to hear. and it was not meant for the masses. But I find it very interesting now that as I watch these media platforms on all of the platforms, that people are just openly talking about it. Now, granted, I'm in my own little microcosm here on my social media with my algorithms. Yes, I understand all of that, but I just find it more interesting that more and more mainstream people are talking about these things of a spiritual nature, right? That it's expanding. Part of the Great Awakening, I think, is what's happening. That I think that our consciousness as a whole is expanding as we talk about these things. And I find it interesting that what used to be for a small group of people is now perhaps meant to be expanded and spread to the entire planet, this sacred knowledge. I don't know if it's meant to be kept a secret, right? And maybe that's what those that are running the planets are perhaps frightened of, is us gaining this knowledge. If it has anything to do with the ancient stories and myths, they all talk about the gods not wanting the humans to get too much knowledge, and anytime they do, they smack us down, right? So I find it very interesting that we found ourselves in a time where all knowledge, let me say all human knowledge, is at our fingertips in the form of a cell phone or the internet. um, and I think that perhaps we're trying to build a Tower of Babel with technology that is a mimic of what our true powers and abilities are as these spiritual beings, these human divine hybrids that we are. Um, yeah, it's really interesting to think about, right? These technologies that are just a shadow of what I believe we can truly do. Psychic powers that we truly have, that we just haven't that we've lost over time, that I believe our ancestors, specifically before the flood 12,000 years ago, allegedly before the flood, I think these previous civilizations of ours had were quite advanced. Whether or not there's aliens involved or whatever, like, I also think that's perhaps just all part of the construct, all part of the game. um, I still like to ponder it, but we have to remind ourselves that this is all part of the construct. um, but yeah, and I wonder, if we do have a solar event, like something's coming. I just feel like something's coming. Um, Solar event knocks out the power for any given amount of time, or the internet for any given amount of time, then that's where all our knowledge is stored. And so I think that that could be a great reset of sorts that would reset all of our knowledge, which is what the gods always want, is to keep our knowledge at a minimum. And so if we're stripped of that through, it could be a burning of the Library of Alexandria situation, right? In the digital age, the frying of the internet from a divine source, whether it's a solar blast or a magnetic polar flip or another great flood or any other number of things that could very easily destroy us and have in the past. um, I wonder if the ultimate goal of this place is to break free from the chain, and that's what humanity is, just breaking free from the cycle. I mean, and that's what our ultimate goal is as a species, is to continue to climb higher and higher and higher. But I do find it interesting that these resets come in, um, and maybe in order to beat the game, we have to transcend that and sort of escape the great cataclysm, right? So it's definitely not something I live in fear about. Because I no longer fear death, to be honest. But whatever's meant to happen is meant to happen. But I think that many people's scales are falling from their eyes the more that we talk about this stuff, and the less we keep it secret. Because honestly, it doesn't have to be this secret thing. You either can see it or you can't. It's right in front of you. So you either see it or you can't. It's like trying to convince somebody to see a color that you can see that they can't see. It's like, well, there's not much you can do about that, right? Like, you can try to describe it to them and try to tell them what it looks like and what they can do to what you did to see that color, and maybe they can do the same thing. But at the end of the day, like, if they can either see it or they can't, and that's okay. It's in divine timing, not in yours. That's what I had to remind myself: is let divine timing unfold, and don't you try to cram it down other people's throats. So I think we'll leave it there. That's all I got. End transmission.